Hey, welcome to the training. My name is Julia Devine. I'm one of the founders of Relatable Nonprofit. If you have made it to this training, chances are you are a nonprofit professional who is a few years into your career and you're thinking about whether or not it is time to make a change, make some kind of a transition from your full-time role, perhaps into a side hustle or into a full-time consulting gig. So I know this has gotten very popular in the last few years. You're seeing a lot of people leave their full-time jobs and go into doing different kinds of side work or consulting work, particularly with the advent of the internet and social media and just making it so easy for people to connect online, sell their services, and get paid well without having to work a full-time job at a 9 to 5 in an office. So we are going to be talking about what I think is the most important first step to becoming a consultant, if that's what you're thinking about. I myself am a nonprofit consultant. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. Prior to that, I was a development director at a nonprofit in Washington, D.C. I was responsible for raising $7 million. I had a team of 10 people. And after a few years, I realized that this just wasn't the right fit for my work-life balance, for my personal life, for how I wanted to live. I wanted to be able to travel, and I didn't want to have the pressure of a 40 to 60-hour work week hanging over my head. So at the end of 2021, my co-founder Catalina and I came together and decided that we would transition into a career in consulting. A lot of people have asked us how we have done it. It is not for everyone, but for those of you who are seriously considering this and understand what this could mean for your career, the first place to start is picking out your specialty, your niche, and finding a way to make yourself uniquely positioned in the market so that your services stand out, you're able to land clients really easily, and you're able to build a portfolio that is going to create a consistent stream of income for you while you are consulting. So we developed this training mostly because this is the most common question that we get from people who are considering going into consulting. They want to understand, what services should I offer? I know how to do all kinds of things. Should I just offer everything? Should I pick something? I don't know if I have the skills for this. So we're going to walk you through our process that we learned over time for how to develop this niche. This is a best practice in business, is to really have a clear target audience, a clear offer, clear services, and a clear and unique value proposition. So I'm going to take you a little bit through how to do that. You can follow along with a pen and paper. There's also a worksheet attached in the toolkit that comes along with this training that I encourage you to fill out so you understand very clearly what is a niche, what does it look like in nonprofit consulting, and what are some ideas to get you thinking about how to develop a niche of your own, and then decide if you want to proceed to start consulting in the nonprofit sector. So what is a niche? A niche is a specialized area of expertise within a specific sector. In this case, we're talking about nonprofits. Most of you probably have nonprofit experience, or you have served on a board, you volunteered, you understand the industry, and this is the industry that you broadly would like to serve. So a niche is going to be a specialty, a subset that you're offering within the sector. So you're not just coming in and saying, hey, I have hands, I have a brain, I'm here to help. Why does defining your niche matter? So a niche or a specialty is going to help position you and establish you as an expert, a skilled professional that focuses on one particular issue. So it's going to increase your brand. And it makes sense, if you think about perhaps a consultant or a company that you've brought in before in your work, you wouldn't hire just some random person off the street to create a video or build a website for your organization. You would go out and say, who is someone who builds websites? And you would look it up and you would say website builder for nonprofits, and a few people would probably pop up. Maybe you'd see someone on LinkedIn and it says, I'm a website development specialist specifically serving small or startup nonprofits. So that means they specialize in donation pages. They understand how to craft a website that fits all the information that a nonprofit wants to share. And they understand what it's like to work with nonprofits and the specific challenges that you all are facing. So you wouldn't just go out and say, I'm looking for a website builder, and just have someone who does grant writing show up and say, oh yeah, I know how to do that too. That wouldn't really make a lot of sense. So the more that you focus in on this specific niche, It makes it easier for people to understand your brand. And it's also going to help you as a consultant rather than trying to offer an entire wheelhouse of a dozen different services, different specialties. You might offer some marketing, some fundraising, some technology, some strategic planning, grant writing. If you tried to offer all of that to all these different clients, you would be exhausted. I know, because we tried when we first started consulting the first 6 months or so of our business. And you're constantly having to reinvent the wheel. You're constantly having to brush up on your skill sets. And there's really no consistency because you're just doing whatever anyone wants you to do. So the more that we can actually say no to clients, and say, no, actually, I don't build websites. I focus on grant writing. That's my service. I can offer you these 3 services related to acquiring grants. But if you want a website builder, I can refer you to my friend who exclusively does that. And it's going to help you develop a reputation in the industry so people understand what they can count on you to do. And in turn, it's going to help you become really good at one thing. And that's something that'll be easier to replicate as you build out your portfolio of clients. So we learned this the hard way. This is literally a screenshot of a list of services that we put on our website when we first got started in consulting. We made a list of every single thing that we knew how to do. I had several years of experience doing digital marketing, fundraising, director of development. I knew how to do a lot of things. I knew direct mail, I knew email marketing, I knew everything. I had, like many people in nonprofits say, I had worn many hats. So I said, oh yeah, well, I've done that. I've set up automations, I've done blogs, I've done social media management. And for Catalina, it was the same thing. And a lot of you who are nonprofit professionals who have 5, 10, 15, 20 years of experience, you're going to feel this same pain that you don't know what to offer because you've done everything. And especially if you've come from a small shop where you've had to learn on the go and you feel very comfortable moving across different specialties. So we made this list and we put it on our website and it was crickets. No one cared. No one called and reached out and said, I'd like to hire you for mailing fulfillment, because this is just a completely random list of things that we know how to do, and it didn't define us in the market at all. So I don't recommend that you stop here, but I do recommend that you start by making a list like this of everything that you know how to do, putting it in buckets and circling things that you like to do. So that's going to be step 1. That's going to be the self-assessment and the reflection, making a list of relevant skills, natural talents, any knowledge or expertise that you have, and specifically focusing on things that light you up, things that you actually enjoy to do. Because if you hate doing email marketing and writing copy and all of that stuff, and that's something you have to do at your job right now, you are not going to enjoy doing it when you're a consultant and you're your own boss and you have to actually make yourself do this work because there is no one there who's going to force you to do the work you don't want to do. So I highly encourage you to come up with a service that you really like doing. So if you love designing websites and picking out colors and coming up with branding, then you really want to hone in on that as a specialty that could possibly become your niche as a consultant. So this is the part where you really want to brainstorm, put everything down on paper, make as many lists as you want, get creative, and start circling things that you think stand out as something that you have relevant skills in, or you can learn, something that you can educate yourself through LinkedIn Learning, through YouTube videos, through taking a certification course, something that you feel like, yeah, I could see myself doing that and becoming very proficient, becoming an expert in this, and I could definitely see myself enjoying offering this service as my niche in my consulting firm. So once you've made a list and you've honed it down to maybe 2 or 3 things that you really like doing and would consider as a consulting specialty, you need to turn around and now look at the market. And if you've been working in-house a long time at a nonprofit, I do encourage you to start by looking at your own organization. Look at the challenges that they have faced. What are the common needs that you're seeing that are just going unfilled? Maybe there's a retention problem. Maybe there's a grant position that's been sitting open for 8 months and no one's been applying for grants. Maybe you know for a fact that the board would love to see you guys setting up a really great annual report, but no one has the time or the graphic design skills to be able to do that, and you would love to do that stuff, but you just don't have time in your role. You want to start reaching out, doing some research, Googling, and just trying to understand within a specific niche what are the common challenges that are being talked about in blogs, in podcasts, in something like the Chronicle of Philanthropy or Candid, any place that you might find nonprofit topics being discussed. You want to dive deep and just figure out what are people talking about. So for us, when we got started, we were doing CRM migrations. Once we figured out that we needed a niche, we knew a lot about how CRMs worked. We knew that typically nonprofits really struggle with adopting this kind of technology, or they've been using a CRM for a really long time. It's a donor database, if anyone's not familiar. And a lot of times they just really need a new one, but no one in-house has the capacity or the bandwidth to go ahead and do all the research to get a new one, figure out what their needs are, set it up, and then train everyone on the team to use this new tool. So we developed a series of services related to helping nonprofits assess their technology needs. We would do an audit of their tech stack. We would bring them recommendations about what kind of CRM they might use, and then we would help them set it up and train up their staff. So we figured out how to offer those services by seeing what people were saying online. We were looking at AFP forums where people were commenting saying they really need a replacement to Razor's Edge, but they have no idea which one to pick. We were reading blogs being put out by tech companies. You're looking on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere that we could find people talking about this. We were listening, we were reading, we were taking notes, and we were trying to understand how we could align our interests, our skill set, our niche, fundraising technologies, CRMs, with the current problems facing people in the sector. And once we started to understand the problem, we figured out how we could offer a solution. So the next thing you want to do is you want to start looking for experts. You want to start looking for people who are already solving the problem that you've identified in step 2 in your research. So look up on LinkedIn. This is a great place to do this. Other nonprofit consultants, check out their areas of expertise, see what they're saying, see what they're offering, see what they're charging, and just start building a background dossier, if you will, on what is already being offered in the sector and what you might be able to do that's a little bit different, a little bit unique. Maybe you're bringing a new perspective. Maybe you have worked with very particular issues like environmental issues or women's health issues, and you want to bring that background expertise and combine it with your specific skill set. So I think an example that I'm going to show in a minute, you can be a social media manager, but maybe you are a social media manager who has exclusive experience working with animal rights campaigns and animal rights nonprofits. And so you want to offer services to the many animal rights and animal welfare nonprofits that are out there, and you specifically want to teach them how to use social media effectively to champion their cause. So that's going to be a really interesting niche that is different from someone who's doing social media for small businesses or social media for environmental groups or just general social media for foundations. There's so many things that you can do that are going to make you stand out in the crowd as someone who has a really unique specialty. And then you're going to add your unique story. So I also encourage people at this stage to reach out to their network, start picking people's brains. You can ask people for 15-20 minutes of their time, and a lot of the time people will meet with you, and you can have a list of questions prepared and just start to ask them, what did you do? What are you currently looking for? If you're a nonprofit executive director or a marketing professional, what is your organization lacking right now, and how do you think that services like this might be able to help you? So once you have listed out all of your potential skills, you have circled the ones that you like, you've done your market research, you've looked up what other consultants are offering, you've had meetings with your network, and you've asked a lot of questions, you've developed all of this research, we're now going to really hone in on what you want to offer. And this is going to be a clear and compelling value proposition. So this is your tagline, your one-liner, the thing that people understand that is your brand when they come across your website, your LinkedIn page, your other social media. So I have a few examples here that we're going to talk about on the next page. For instance, you could be a grant writer for small nonprofits, specifically environmental organizations. So that means that you understand all of the major players out there in the grant world, corporate sponsorship world, public and private funding for environmental organizations, and you specifically help them to apply for grants. Or you might be doing, as I mentioned earlier, social media management for animal rights nonprofits. You also might be someone who offers capital campaigns for large nonprofits, and you might specifically specialize in raising money for certain kinds of projects. You also could be someone who works with religious organizations or works with higher education. These are different examples of niches within the sector. You might have experience doing event management, volunteer management, public policy, advocacy work, grassroots organizing work. These are all different examples of skills that you could offer in a consulting capacity to a specific target audience within the entire nonprofit sector. So there's really a lot of options here. It's just going to depend on you and what you would like to do. So this is really, really important that you take a lot of time here, think this through, and really do your homework before you take the leap any further into consulting. So over time, you are going to refine that niche, and that's going to be this evolving step 5 process. You are going to want to remain flexible, be responsive to market changes. Things that this year and next year are big issues for nonprofits might really not be huge issues 5 or 6 years down the road. So you want to be open-minded and always keeping an ear out to see what the next problem is on the horizon. For instance, right now, AI is really critical, and it's huge and it's new, and everyone's trying to figure out how to implement AI in their organizations, but that might not really be the case. Maybe AI goes away and it isn't really that popular, or more likely it gets refined, different tools come out, and those become adopted later down the road. So perhaps today you're helping people use ChatGPT, but 2 years from now you're realizing that there's this new technology out there that people are really excited about. They don't really need help with ChatGPT anymore. They really want to learn this new tech. You always want to keep your ear open. Always want to be talking to people, understanding what is the critical need and how can I evolve my niche and my specialty and my expertise to meet that problem with my unique solutions. So I do want to take a minute to walk you through the worksheet that comes attached with this toolkit. This is going to help you determine your niche. I do encourage you to take some time to print this out and thoughtfully fill it out, work through it. There's several parts here. You're going to start by going through your vision, your motivation for your business. What are you thinking about developing for your consulting practice? You want to write some ideas down here. Really want to explore what your motivations are. Of course, consulting is hard work. I know people like to say that it looks so much easier than working full time. And while consulting is an excellent career choice and I highly recommend it, and I've really had a great experience doing it myself, I do want to warn you that it is not just free money. It is not just you never work. You really do need to be on top of your game. You do need to understand exactly what you are doing, why you're doing it, and you really need to want to do it. So you want to talk about your motivations and your vision and really be clear on that before you step into the business building process. So then, as we talked about, you'll go through your skills inventory. You'll start developing your unique selling proposition, your unique value proposition. These things are all interchangeable. What is your unique approach, your prior experience, or unique methodology that you're offering that is going to set you apart from other people in the field who are offering similar services? Now we want to be identifying what the common pain points are. These are going to come from your research and your conversations that you do as you are understanding what the problems are out there in the industry. Then we want to look at the market. Which kinds of nonprofits do you want to work with? Who do you feel compelled to serve? Is it startup nonprofits? Is it enterprise level nonprofits? Is it a specific issue that you really care about and want to serve specifically, like environmental groups, like I said, women's health groups, animal rights groups, all of these different organizations that you might love working with specifically, and you can carve out a niche in the target market. So you're going to continue doing needs analysis with conducting interviews. And then you want to think a little bit about your work preferences, your lifestyle alignment. Now, you certainly don't want to be offering intense data migration services if you don't like dealing with data. You definitely don't want to offer that service. So you want to think about the things that you like to do, that you enjoy doing at work, that you think you could translate over to a consulting role. And you also want to think about your lifestyle. Do you like being able to work from home? Are you okay with working with one person or maybe 1 to 2 people? Are you okay with having sometimes income that might fluctuate month over month depending on what kind of clients you have? Do you feel comfortable having sales conversations, promoting yourself online? These are all things you really want to be thinking about as you're developing your niche, as you're developing your thoughts around your consulting business. And at the end, you'll refine your niche, and then you're going to move into the piece where you develop out your services. So these are going to be the actual tangible deliverables that you are packaging and putting together for your clients that have to do with your niche. So if it was grant writing, you might be doing a funding strategy, and then you might come up with a proposal, and then you'll come up with several applications to submit, and you would help the organization to submit those proposals. So you might have different price points on those different services. And again, we want to continue validating the need for your services, validating the need for this niche. And you can do that by continuing to conduct interviews, doing research on existing services, and really continuing to identify the key gaps in the market. So that is everything that I have today on how to define and refine your nonprofit consulting niche, your specialty. I encourage you to take some time to fill out this worksheet. If you love everything in this training and you are really excited to take the next step, maybe you have already started consulting, but you're looking for some guidance and support, you can always check out our website, relatablononprofit.com, where we do offer a mentorship training program for new and aspiring nonprofit consultants in the field. So if you're curious, if you're interested, please feel free to check it out. If not, you can reach us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and you can email us anytime. So I really am excited to see what you guys come up with. I think this is a great exercise for anyone who's thinking about going into business. Thanks so much for joining, and we will hopefully see you again on another training.